the NPD Group has just released their findings for July 2018, and here I am with my customary video to go over what software dominated the charts and what hardware manufacturer took home the W. What's going on, guys? Randall Thor 19, the man with the million, back again with another video, and I hope everyone is doing well. Thank you guys so much for all the well wishes in the comment section of my last video, as well as on Twitter. Most of you know I've been kind of dealing with the family member in the hospital, and I want to thank everybody for the positive reinforcement and the positive messages. So thank you guys so very much. And I just wanted to get back in the groove of making videos because I truly do enjoy this hobby. Anyways, let's get into it, right? You guys can see the title, Octopath Traveler and Grand Theft Auto 5. Yes, Grand Theft Auto 5. Still talking about this game 5 years later, own the charts. And the big takeaway, at least from the very beginning, from Matt Piscatella here on VentureBeat, is the numbers for July and the numbers comparing 2018 to 2017. Everything is up for July when compared to last year, except for the PC and console software. It's down 12%. But if you compare 2018 to 2017 so far, we're all up, baby. The industry is doing great. Total spending is up 17%. The hardware is up 21%. PC and console software is up 5%. And accessories are up a whopping 33%. So the video game industry is in a healthy spot, whether it's the Nintendo Switch, the PS4, or the Xbox One. And it is a great thing to see, is because I love this hobby and I wanted to see it go on as long as it possibly can. Now, software. Everybody loves video games. Everybody loves, the games that we play on our consoles. And you know what? This list isn't really too surprising. Octopath Traveler might surprise a few people here that it was number 1 for the month. And impressively, we have the asterisk here, which means that this doesn't even include digital sales because Nintendo doesn't share that. So I always got to do this disclaimer at the beginning of these videos. Keep in mind, the NPD Group only tracks North American sales, so don't mention worldwide or anything like that because it doesn't pertain to this video. And yes, the NPD Group does track digital sales in their software charts, and these charts are ranked by revenue, not by units sold. So keep that in mind. I gotta go over that every single month because every single month somebody always types something stupid in the comments about worldwide and about how it's not, digital's not included. Digital's included. So it's really impressive to see Octopath Traveler, get the number 1 spot, and the fact that there is no digital sales included in that. Then again, this is July and not many games actually came out, but this is like an old school RPG, and it basically blew everything away. Grand Theft Auto 5, a game that is 5 years old, still number 2. Mario Kart 8, Crash Bandicoot, which actually came out at the end of June, placed number 4. Legend of Zelda, Far Cry 5 still hanging in there. Mario Odyssey, The Crew 2, looks like Crash is doing a little bit better than The Crew 2. Rainbow Six Siege, still doing well, released from December of 2015. Very impressive how that game has held. Mario Tennis Aces, which was, if you recall, the best-selling game of last month, drops to number 10. Then you got FIFA, Lego, God of War 2018, kind of falling a little bit further now. It's number 13. Captain Toad, NBA 2K18, Detroit, or Call of Duty, then Detroit, MLB, Minecraft, and Destiny 2. One thing that kind of sticks out to me besides Grand Theft Auto 5, just completely dominating 5 years later, I'm kind of really interested in seeing what Red Dead Redemption 2 is going to do. This is the first Rockstar game in 5 years. It's been, 8 years since Red Dead, a game that people wanted the sequel from. It's going to be kind of interesting to see how if at all, the Grand Theft Auto user base actually migrates to Red Dead, and if so, does that give that game the super long legs? It's kind of interesting to think about. But my God, when you look at this, it's littered with Nintendo exclusives. Octopath Traveler, Mario Kart 8, Legend of Zelda, Super Mario Odyssey, Mario Tennis Aces, Captain Toad, Treasure Tracker. Nintendo just has kind of a stranglehold, and they're selling tons of software. Yeah, you have God of War down here at number 13 that's selling well, and Detroit down here at 17, but, with Switch winning this month, which we'll talk about in a minute, they're obviously buying a lot of software. And that's the kind of the story you hear lately about the Nintendo Switch, is how well, games are doing on the system, which, You know, for a long time, there's kind of been that stereotype, or at least thinking that only Nintendo games sell well on Nintendo platforms. But Octopath Traveler is a Square Enix game. Every single week I see indie titles talk about how, oh my god, our game sold more on the Switch than the Xbox One PC and, you know, the PS4 combined. And people tend to downplay that because they just think, well, there's nothing on the Nintendo Switch and people bought it, so of course they need something to buy it. But I think that excuse has gone by the wayside. We're a year and a few months into the Switch's life cycle, and they're getting like 20 games a week on the system, and they're selling extremely well. But unfortunately, we don't have that one-to-one huge AAA comparison to make, because this would kind of settle all the, you know, debates. If a Red Dead 2 came out on Xbox, PlayStation, and the Switch, which version would sell the most? A Call of Duty, if one released at the same time, which one would do better than the other? Like all the big, huge AAA, you know, great graphics-driven type of games with heavy online focus, they skip the Switch, presumably because it's not as powerful as the other two, so it can't run it. Even though it, you know, Bethesda has put like Doom and Wolfenstein on the system with kind of you know, hits to the resolution and the gameplay, and we don't know how well those games have sold. And those games have also come out extremely later than you know, their counterparts. So does it affect sales very much? I would love to see like a head-to-head between the big ones, like the Tomb Raiders, the Red Deads, the Call of Duties, the Battlefields, the Hitmans, the Fallouts. Like if any of those games ever went head-to-head and we got a Switch versus Xbox versus PlayStation, just to see where everything kind of lined up and what system actually sold the most. And maybe the Switch could win a few there. I mean, it seems people really love the portability factor, so that is the top software for the month. And it says right here, the persistent narrative around Nintendo right now, the Switch doesn't have any games, and yet it's having a dominant summer of 2018, which is kind of what we talked about. Octopath Traveler is the best-selling game of July. Half of July's top 10 bestsellers are Nintendo platform exclusives. And once again, don't let anybody tell you that exclusives don't matter. Nintendo is also the top-selling full-game software publisher for both July and year-to-date, with Nintendo Switch as the only platform showing year-on-year growth in full-game dollar sales, with gains of nearly 70% when compared to a year ago, despite digital sales not being tracked. Year-to-date sales of full-game software on Nintendo Switch have more than doubled when compared to a year ago, so only positive news for Nintendo. And of course, here they talk about Grand Theft Auto 5 because it is a beast. They mentioned the Premium Edition launching in April, which also helped a little bit. Grand Theft Auto 5 was the best-selling title of the month on both PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. I mean, you can see it right here. We got the best-selling games of 2018 so far: Far Cry 5, God of War, Monster Hunter World, Call of Duty World War II, Grand Theft Auto, Dragon Ball, Mario Kart 8. It's going to be interesting to see how this list kind of shifts and moves as we get into the end of the year. I'm going to imagine that Far Cry 5 stays at number 1 through September, and then once Call of Duty comes out in October, which I think it comes out October 12th, Far Cry is going to actually be replaced. I don't really see Spider-Man, and I don't see Rise of the Tomb Raider outselling Far Cry, so I think those will come in under there. So it's going to be interesting to see if Spider-Man, and that's a kind of big debate going on right now, whether or not God of War can sell more than Spider-Man, or rather, can Spider-Man outsell God of War? And we can see it's the second best-selling game of 2018 so far, and exclusive to a single platform is number 2. A single game on a single platform has outsold all these other multiplats, except for, of course, Mario Kart 8, which is a Nintendo exclusive, and Super Mario Odyssey, which is a Nintendo exclusive. Done phenomenally well. And of course, these are the best-selling games of the last 12 months. Call of Duty World War II, it always sells no matter what. 2K18, Destiny, you know, for all the talk about how Destiny is dead, still the third best-selling game over the last 12 months. You know, and people are starting to get a little bit excited for the new expansion coming in September, yada, yada, yada. And we can see here the top 10 best-selling games on Xbox and PlayStation. Grand Theft Auto 5 was number 1 on both. And then you kind of get the differentiating stuff here. You got God of War here, Crash here. PUBG still doing extremely well on Xbox. Just got announced that it's leaving game preview, going to 1.0 on September 4th. So that might kind of reinvigorate the sales here for the platform. Detroit Become Human still at number 3, 1 slot behind God of War. And the Switch, like, look at this, like, all these games were in the top 20. Splatoon 2 must have been just on the outside of it. Of course, then you have the hardware, Nintendo Switch, number 1, followed by the PlayStation 4, followed by the Xbox One. But Matt has a lot of positive comments about all the platforms, especially Nintendo as well as Xbox. He says hardware spending in July grew 19%, and gains were driven by the Xbox One, Switch, and plug-and-play devices like the NES Classic. Spending on hardware is up 21%, and Matt notes that sales of Xbox One, PlayStation 4 Classic, and Super Nintendo Classic are their primary drivers this year, and he says year-to-date hardware spending is at its highest level since 2011. So I love it when you read all this stuff, and it's like, games are selling great, hardware is selling great, we're at an amazing high level with, we haven't seen this level since, years previous. Because we all heard the doom and gloom before this generation started. Consoles are dead. Nobody cares anymore. The mobile market's going to swallow everything up. And this gen has kind of just gone on to prove all those people wrong. Now, of course, you have people saying, next gen is the last gen. Next gen is going to be over. It's going to be all streaming. We have to see how that's going to come. But those same people that predicted the end of consoles last generation going into this generation are basically all eating their words at how well this generation has done. Nintendo Switch was July's best-selling platform in both dollars and units sold. This is the 7th month that the Switch has led in hardware dollar sales since March of last year, and the first since December of 2017. Now, I did say last month when we talked about predicting how well who was going to win every single month, I said, it's probably going to be PlayStation because they got Spider-Man coming up in September. Maybe Xbox if they have a really good sale in November or December, although I highly doubt it. I didn't really give Switch that much kind of thought. I thought maybe they could win December because that's when Super Mario or not Super Mario, Smash Brothers is launching, but they won July. So I was wrong there. This is a little bit hard predicting what console is going to win each thing, but at least I try to put my thoughts out there. It says here, Microsoft and Sony are both doing fine. Xbox One hardware sales are trending up. In terms of dollar sales, the Xbox One platform grew by 50% year over year in July. Year to date, it's up more than 60%. So what basically is saying is that the dollar sales, we all know that the Xbox One X was introduced in November. Now we're actually getting around to the full comparison of last year versus this year. So now you have a system that is $500, you add it to the pot, and the sales, or dollar sales, because people are buying that system, make it go up a little bit. So, the Xbox One X is doing its job. It's giving Microsoft more money. And you can see here, year to date, it's up 60%. It's just some people expected this huge turnaround where the X would lead Microsoft from the back of the group suddenly to overtake Nintendo and the PlayStation, but unfortunately, I think everybody who thought that was kind of mistaken from the very beginning. It's a mid-gen refresh. The Pro's doing okay, but it wasn't setting the world on fire, and Xbox was just the least popular console of choice this generation. A new brand new system that's more powerful isn't going to change anything. So while the hardcore rebought that, and some people did pick up the X because it's a pretty powerful system for what you get in comparison to the prices on some of the PCs and things like that. It wasn't going to be this savior of Xbox, and some people thought it would be, but the reality kind of hit them in the face. If you want to see some sort of change, we got to wait and see what Microsoft and Sony and Nintendo are going to be offering for next generation. How is the PlayStation 5 going to be stacked up against the Xbox 2? What are the price points going to be? What different offerings are they going to have? What's the streaming console going to be like? What's the power of the systems? That's where kind of, if anything can happen, if Xbox can surge forward or whatever, it's going to happen then, not during the mid-generation when there's still this kind of, people still look at Xbox with a raised eyebrow, we remember what you tried doing years ago, and, Sony hasn't really screwed up, so why are we going to leave? And, Sony's exclusive lineups are actually, better than they ever been lately, so it's and Xbox's has obviously not been as good. So it's like, we'll wait and see. But I don't know. That's just kind of my thought on all that. PlayStation 4 is still the best-selling platform of 2018 so far. Accessories they go on to talk about, they're up 33%. And I think he said something here. Yeah, the Xbox One S white controller was July's top revenue-generating accessory, while the PS4 DualShock 4 black controller has driven the most dollar sales of any accessory year to date. Now, it's a meme. Xbox always has all these new controllers every single month. They just unveiled the PUBG controller, and people make fun of the fact that there's more controllers than there are games. Hardy har har. Let's all laugh about it. It is kind of funny when you think about. But here we go. People apparently love controllers, as the DualShock 4 is the highest one. And I mean, it's no surprise. The PlayStation 4 has sold the most consoles in North America. So people need controllers to play their games. The DualShock also doesn't come with removable batteries. So is there an issue there of people's controllers dying out or needed to be replaced? Maybe, maybe not. But I don't know. The whole kind of hate towards controllers and things like that is just, I think it's a little bit overblown myself. While I would wish Microsoft more to focus on games and less on accessories. What are you going to do about it? The games are years away from being shown off, and they're not going to put themselves in a scale-bound crackdown situation no matter how many people cry that they need to see something for something that's 3 years away. So what's Microsoft going to do? Put out controllers. You know why they're going to put out controllers? Because people buy them. They get these reports all the time. They know how many they ship. They know people buy the controllers. It says it right there, for Christ's sake. Accessories are up 33%. If people didn't buy the controllers, they wouldn't make them. It's kind of that simple. Anyways, I know this video ended up being quite long, but I enjoyed making it. I enjoy having this conversation with everybody. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And as always, if you enjoyed this video and you want to support the channel, make sure you give it a thumbs up, share it out on Twitter, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hit that notification bell so you're always notified when I drop new content. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks for all the warm, well wishes for my, well-being as well as my family's. I greatly appreciate it and hope everyone has a great rest of the day. And I'll see you guys tomorrow for hopefully, if I have time and I'm around, some new videos. Anyways, later, guys.